The people of Albania are the paupers of Europe. After a generation of isolation, political change has finally reached the last and most severe of the old Stalinist regimes. Albania's 3 million people live a life of almost pre-industrial poverty. More than 2/3 of them live on huge state farms with scarcely enough food to survive. In the cities too, most people search constantly for food. Until a few weeks ago, to own a private car was against the law. And with the isolation and the poverty came oppression. In the 45 years since the founding of the communist state, the abuse of human rights has been part of Albania's political system. Inside the country's jails, the extent of the suffering is only now becoming clear.
I've been put in a cell. It made me feel so as in a grave, you know. Very, very depressed. Before the interrogation, I felt as if my fate was in his hands completely. He could do everything. I was undefended for that. It was a sort of fear and insecurity.
Shkoja më nxjerrin në kamp isha marrëdhënie pune në minier, duke punuar atje me tonë pari, dytë e tretë. Gjatë punës që kishte edhe aksidente të tepërta, që muan jo, po grupe e shokëve të mi kanë lënë jetën. Në rastin nuk do të bëj një normë. Do të rrifshje.
Albania is among the Eastern European countries the country with the worst record in the field of human rights. Widespread imprisonment, people accused under false charges, and hundreds and hundreds of them which have been condemned up to 20-25 years, if not executed.
For the first time in decades, some doors at least are opening to the outside world. Prison labour camp 325 is on the outskirts of Albania's capital, Tirana. This is the first time any television cameras have been inside an Albanian prison. The authorities chose the jail, and the smell of fresh paint was everywhere.
Këta të dënuar janë kryesisht për krimin e vjedhjes pasurisë shtetërore. Ka për krimet e vrasjes dhe për krimet e tjera ordinere, lagosje, grabitje, të kësaj natyre janë.
The regime has introduced dramatic reforms in the last 6 months. Torture was used widely in these prisons, it's believed to have stopped. The legal profession was abolished in Albania 20 years ago, so no prisoner had a legal defense at his trial. Lawyers are now allowed to practice, but there are no plans to review past sentences. But the most dramatic reform has been the release of 800 political prisoners in the run-up to the first free elections 6 weeks ago. Now the government's even prepared to admit that they were tortured.
Forma organizimit të punës, siç ka qenë deri atëherë. Detyra që duhet bëjë me dënuar dhe mundësitë praktike për t'i vënë njerëzit në punë që kanë çuar në mjetë dhune. Vet ligja nuk e toleron prekshmërinë e personit, ligja. Po faktikisht shfaqje dhe shkelje ka pasur. Për çdo shkelje sa herë është konstatuar, personat përgjegjës janë përgjigjur para ligjit, janë dënuar edhe me heqje të lirisë. Unë nuk mund të them, domethënë, që s'ka pasur keq trajtime. Bilet do të pohoje që ka pasur të tilla.
But labor camps like number 325 are not the whole story. In northern Albania is the prison of Burrel, the most infamous of all the country's jails. Every man was forbidden to enter Burrel, even though the authorities say it's now virtually empty. The fear of jails like Burrel lives on in the political prisoners just released. Every man contacted many of them. Some were too frightened to talk. Others refused to take part after the communists retained power in the recent elections. The cases that follow are those who were brave enough to speak. In central Albania is State Farm La Parla number 1. Some 2,000 people live here, growing maize, tobacco and olives. It's areas like this where the influence of the old regime is strongest. In the elections, the communists retained power by winning nearly all the votes from the country areas, where 2/3 of the people lived. But even in such poverty, there are degrees of destitution. Of all the people on the farm, the Dirma family is the poorest. Once it was the richest. Pasho Dirma and his 4 sons have together spent some 60 years in jail for crimes they did not commit. Only in the last few months has the family been reunited. Before the Second World War, Pasho Dirma, now 83, was the richest man in the neighborhood. With his father, he owned all the land on which the farm now stands.
Ne përpara kemi qenë pasunik, edhe me gjendje ekonomike të mirë shumë. Kemi qenë. Me shoqërinë, me vllazërinë, me miqësinë, kishim shkollje të marrë. S'kishim në nga të rrës, nga ashtu hiq. Buqit punojnë, tokën time, edhe me jepnin të tretat mua.
In the Second World War, Albania was occupied first by Italian, then by German troops. Partisan resistance was organized by a guerrilla leader called Enver Hoxha, and he who established the new communist regime at the war's end. There was no place for dissent under the country's new leader. Agricultural land was nationalized. In 1946, Pasho's land was confiscated, and he and his family were evicted from the family home. A Communist Party official moved in. He still lives there today. Pasho's family, after being homeless for a while, was finally given a cottage on the new state farm.
Neve për herë të parë, si pasunik që ishim, na shikojnë me sy të keq. Edhe na hyn pasaj me tatimet e rënda. Tatimet, jo një tatim, po 2-3 tatime në vit. Para, lesh, mish, vez. Vitit. Deri në 52. Na trajtojnë kaq keq. Punojnë, edhe atë puna i herë, e punojnë ati, se ke bërë mirë. Ke bërë punë armiqësore. S'ta mandozim. Se merë.